If you could have any superpower, what would it be? Would you like to become invisible, just like that? Would you like to be able to fly around and levitate? Or maybe you would love the ability to read someone's mind. That's usually the answer I go for. Now, I'm pretty sure we have all been asked that question at some point during our lives, right? We all have wished we had some kind of superpower, whatever that might be. Maybe it was something that could help make our lives easier or better. Something that could help us to be one step ahead of our competition. Or something that could help us achieve our dreams and goals and help make a difference to the world. Now, I am a bit of a superhero fan. I love the Marvel movies, and you can often find me lounging on the sofa, popcorn in hand, ready to watch them for the millionth time. And every single time I still find myself wondering how awesome it would be to have the superhuman strength of the Incredible Hulk, to have the speed, stamina and reflexes of the Black Panther, or simply the technological genius of Iron Man. And then I end up wondering if any of them would actually be possible. Now, my favourite superheroes are Deadpool and Wolverine. Why? Well, because in my opinion, they have the coolest superpower you could ever ask for. They have the ability to regenerate. But what if I told you that that ability of regeneration was not complete science fiction? Meet the planarian. This is a type of flatworm that has these incredible regenerative abilities. In fact, some species of planarians have such astonishing regeneration capabilities that if you cut it in half at any point along its body, then the head part would grow a new tail and the tail part would grow a new head. In fact, if you cut one single worm into 4 pieces, you would end up with 4 completely whole new worms. How incredible is that? And that's not the only example. This is an axolotl. It's a type of salamander and the only vertebrate we know about that can regrow whole limbs and tails. If you amputated it at the wrist level, it would grow a whole new hand. If you amputated it at the shoulder level, it would grow a whole new arm. It can regrow the front portion of its brain, its testes, and if its spinal cord got crushed, in about 3 weeks' time, everything would have regenerated and reconnected so that it could walk again. Now, have I convinced you that this would be a pretty cool superpower to have yet? Now, I could marvel about this for hours on end, but what's the secret? How do axolotls and planarians, starfish and sea cucumbers, Deadpool and Wolverine, how do they all regenerate? Well, the answer to that is all to do with stem cells. Now, stem cells are these incredibly special cells that I became fascinated by as soon as I learned about them in school. Then my curiosity to understand them and their potential just grew and grew throughout university and ultimately led to me researching them for 4 years during my PhD. So let me just start to tell you just a little bit about how special these cells are. Now, there are approximately 37.2 trillion cells in your body. 37.2 trillion. Now, for comparison, there are only 7.8 billion people on the planet. So that means we would need 4,769 identical copies of Earth just to have the same number of people as there are cells in just your body. Now, each one of those cells has their own specialised job to do, but every single one of them came from a stem cell, an unspecialised cell that, with the right guidance and instructions, can become any cell type you can think of. Stem cells are what we call undifferentiated cells. They're kind of like the blank tiles you use in Scrabble. They don't have a specific job or function yet, unlike your skin cells, for example, that protect pathogens from entering your body, or the rod and cone cells that sit at the back of your eye and help us to detect different shapes and colours. But stem cells do have the potential to create all of these cells and more. It's just the number of cell types that a stem cell can create depends on its potency. Now, when parents love each other very much and they do the unthinkable, they can create a fertilised egg. Now this single cell holds all the potential and instructions to create a human life. It's the ultimate stem cell because not only can it create all the cells that make up a human body, but it also creates a placenta and an umbilical cord too. They're called totipotent stem cells. Now this one cell, it divides to make 2 cells. Those 2 cells become 4 cells, and then 8 cells, 16, 32, and so on, until you reach around 200 to 300 cells. You've now become what is called a blastocyst, and within this tiny structure is a small mass of pluripotent stem cells. Pluripotent stem cells with the right guidance and instructions can become any cell type that you find in your body. Now, stem cells aren't just present during development, they're present in our bodies right now too. You can find them in your bone marrow, in your skin, in your brain, in your liver, even the follicles in your hair. The difference with these though is they're slightly more limited in the number of cell types that they can become. Let's take our bone marrow stem cells for example. They can create any of the cell types that make up your blood, but they can't create a brain cell or a liver cell, for example. In fact, there are some stem cells in your body that just create one specialised cell type. So stem cells aren't just the moulding putty from which we grow as a human being, but they're also a key part of our body's repair kit so that we can replace worn out cells. So if we go back to our cute little friend, the axolotl, if it lost its tail, then those cells at the injury site would get converted back into stem cells. Then with the right guidance and instructions, those cells can start to form bone cells and muscle cells and nerve cells and any other cells you can find in a tail. It can start to heal itself and regrow that tail just like it would have done the first time during development. Now, unless one of you watching this is hiding a quite impressive secret, then you won't be surprised to hear that us mighty humans, well, we're kind of pathetic at regeneration. The best we can manage is the very tips of our fingers, and our liver has some ability to regenerate to full size if some of it had to be removed during surgery. So those superpowers of Deadpool and Wolverine aren't going to be happening for me anytime soon. But what about the future? We came from the ultimate stem cell. There are stem cells in our body and we have some ability to regenerate. Will we ever be able to reach superhero regeneration status? Now, because of a stem cell's ability to create all of these different types of cells, as well as crucially being able to make identical copies of themselves so we never run out of this precious cargo, there is a whole field of research dedicated to finding new ways of harnessing the potential of stem cells so that we can heal and repair our bodies. It's called regenerative medicine. Now, I've told you about adult and embryonic stem cells already, but there's another type of stem cell I'd like to introduce you to. They're called induced pluripotent stem cells, and they actually come from your own skin cells. It's just then that in the lab they get converted back into pluripotent stem cells, the kind that can create any cell type you find in your body. And then just like when you're lost and you need to ask for directions, these induced pluripotent stem cells can be guided and directed to become any cell type you desired to help treat disease. Induced pluripotent stem cells have already been converted into a wide variety of cell types, such as heart cells that you can see beating together in a dish, to cartilage cells, to brain cells, to skin cells, even retinal cells from your eye. The idea is that these newly created tissues could be transplanted back into a patient to help repair damaged organs or replace diseased tissue, and all without the fear of rejection because those cells, well, they came from you originally. There are other areas of research even looking at transplanting your own stem cells into damaged regions. There was one particular study involving blind patients who had chemically burnt eyes, and they had stem cells from their healthy eye transplanted into their damaged eye. And the result was that after 30 years or so of being blind, these patients could see again, because the stem cells had repaired the damage in their eye. And the research avenues don't just stop there. There are researchers trying to create whole organs from stem cells and scaffolds. There are researchers looking at ways to create blood cells for use in transfusions, and other researchers trying to look at ways to treat spinal cord injuries, and so many more. Now, could you imagine living in a world where no one was waiting on an organ donor register? There was no shortage of blood donations for use in operations, and there was real hope for those suffering from paralysis, all because of stem cells. Now, this is an image of the stem cells I studied during my PhD. Now, research can get really tough and frustrating at times, and it can be so easy to lose track and want to give up and just throw in the towel. But looking down the microscope at those stem cells every single day was something I could never get bored of. They were a constant reminder of what I was helping to work towards, even if it was the tiniest piece of the puzzle, and the potential that these stem cells had to help others. It also reminded me of what I could achieve as a scientist and the dreams and goals that I could reach with the right guidance and instructions. It also reminded me that we all started off as this one single stem cell, and yet we all end up as this beautiful concoction of 37.2 trillion different cells. And then with the right guidance and instructions, to each of us grow up to harness our own strengths and superpowers and grow up to be whatever we want to be, just like those stem cells. And just like us mere humans and every single one of the cells that make up our bodies, superheroes come in all different shapes and sizes, and they all have their unique strengths and superpowers. And just like us mere humans and every single one of the cells that make up our body, each superhero on their own cannot really make a difference. It's only when they come together and utilise each other's superpowers and strengths can they really make change. And the same goes for you, for me, and for all of us together. So I want you to go away today and not think about what superpowers you want, but what superpowers you have. Because you do have them, almost definitely more than one. I've even told you today about a regenerative superpower that you probably didn't even realise you had. So until that day where we could become the next Deadpool or Wolverine, I want to ask you, what superpowers do you have? Because it's not just stem cells that are a marvel. You are a marvel too. Thank you.